Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the technique 5 swords, its execution, some of the things you should know about its execution, some things that can go wrong during its execution, and some things you can do to enhance its execution. So let's start out with the ideal phase. The ideal phase is a right roundhouse punch to the face. Obviously we're going to have to defend this. The ideal phase is to do a two-hand block, hands open for margin for error, one above onto the bicep, one below the elbow onto the wrist. Problem with this is that you have no path of travel for this chop. So in order to enhance that, a better way to do it is to step back and block with one hand and bring the hand down. Because one of the rules that we have is we try not to keep our hands on the same zone at the same time. So we would prefer to have them on two different zones, and that's why you would do this over the other. Also with this problem, you then have that hole, which then exposes that. So also, as this punch comes in, I can do it as a defensive defense, which is completely blocked, or I can do it as a defensive offense, which means I'm striking what's coming in towards me. The next thing I need to worry about is this chop. So a lot of people will do this as a glance. Everything with your right hand in this technique is going to be a major, and if I glance, it is no longer a major. What I want to do instead, I want to think about pushing this person and spiking this person to the floor so I can control their height zone. So what I do instead is I hit right on that clavicle. I want this nice and deep in there, and then I want to pull into the next strike, rather than just glance and move straight through to that strike. Okay? That'll turn that major into a minor, which is what you want. So from here, we do that strike, and the next maneuver, as we push and pull, is going to be ideally a four-finger poke. You want to spread the fingers apart for margin for error. The other way to potentially do this is with a heel pump, and then hit with the eyes if you wish also. That might save your weapons a little bit if you're not sure about your poke and whether you can actually accurately hit those eyes. You might want to do the heel pump and then poke afterwards, which then saves your fingers potential breaking. But what you want to do is, you notice what I just did. I made him bend backwards, which means I'm checking the height zone and I'm exposing the part that I'm going to hit to next, which is that uppercut. So I want to, again, pull this right hand or left hand back to my right side as I deliver this uppercut. There's two ways to do this. One is with the elbow anchored and one with the elbow up. The one with the elbow up, if he has to bend forward, he'll hit that, okay? So either way you want to do it, it's perfectly fine. You can choose which way you want. But the most important thing here is what's happening with this uppercut. What I want is I want anchored elbow. So as I do this hit, I want this up. You'll see a lot of people back here reach for this. Don't do that. If you need to close the distance, close that distance as you do it. That's perfectly fine, rather than extend. But you want that anchored elbow. Anchored elbow means, and we're going to do this at the end also, is that your fist should be above or at your elbow. It should never be below it. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through. So now what's happening here after we've gotten this part across? What we want to do is we want to hit him on the side of the neck, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a major. This could be I hit him and he begins to bend over and I go, oh, I just want to catch him. Or it could be I hit him, he really doesn't bend over, so I have to hit him and then bend him over. Either one is perfectly fine, it doesn't matter. What does matter is where this person ends up. I don't want to be pulling him towards me because I have that problem, and I get myself out of alignment for the next maneuver, which is going to be the overhead chop. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be using this left hand, you want to guide him so they can stay in front of you and get to the proper height and gauge distance-wise from you. Okay? So let's get up to that point again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get him over the top. Now, this right hand is extremely important. What you don't want to do is start creating a big circle, or you don't want your hand behind you. What you want is line of sight above what you're going to be hitting next. Because what's going to happen is we're going to take advantage of gravitational marriage as we drop into this chop. We want to make sure, again, like I said earlier, anchored elbow. You don't want to be reaching down below that. If you do need to get lower, bend your knees. Use more gravitational marriage and use a little bit more body English. But you don't want to be chopping like this where the hand is below that elbow again. Now, let's talk about what's happening with this chop. I could be chopping with this part of my hand, or I could be chopping with this part of my hand. What I want to try and do, if I can do it, is bend to make a circle so that I fit right behind this person's neck, so it fits right behind the head. Because what I want to think about doing is pulling his head off his neck. So when I do this chop, see how that pushes the head down and pulls it away from the spine? That's the effect you want. If you don't have the proper angle, you could theoretically just hit straight down into the neck and break the neck in half like that. So think of one or two things, either popping off this way or breaking through this way. Either way, you're going to drop and keep that elbow anchored, and you're going to check. Then you can potentially cross out and cover. So let's run through this one more time with a little bit more of the explanation, but a little bit faster. Two hands, problem, same zones. Right hand in one zone, left hand in the other zone, potentially turning this into a strike rather than a block. Do not glance. Major. Keep the elbow anchored. Push, pull, either eyes or heel palm poke eyes. Uppercut, don't reach for it. Comes up at an angle, at a 45-degree angle. Make sure that the elbow and the hand, at least the elbows on the same height as the hand or below it. The counter elbow, the left elbow, can either be up or down. If it is down a little bit, you're going to want to move out of the way. If you stay here, you want to keep it up. Next thing you want to do is with the left hand, either hit and then guide him. Don't pull him to you. Pull him straight down so that you have a proper gauge. Hand over what you're going to be hitting, or relatively over what you're going to be hitting. Drop down. Don't let the hand fall below the elbow. Drop using gravitational marriage in order to get what it is that you need to hit with the proper height. Bend the wrist to get around the neck a little bit more if you can. Cross out and cover. Okay, one more time, slightly faster so that you can see it. Hope this video helps you. Thank you very much.